Major landslide strikes 3 villages in Aranayaka. Police says 80 rescued.
Low pressure system moves towards India. Strong winds and rain to continue in the next 24 hours.
11 deaths reported due to extreme weather conditions. Close to 150,000 people displaced.
President orders expansion of disaster relief program.
Sacred relics commence journey to the Sirasa Vesak zone.
Good evening and welcome. This is Primetime News, coming to you live and direct from our News First studios here in Colombo on TV1 and Shakti TV. I am Shaheen Jurongpati.
I'm Aisha Rakita. Good evening. Let's start off with a look at your stories.
The presentation of the Sri Sannas Patra to the new Mahanayaka of the Askiri chapter of the Siam sect, the Most Venerable Warakagoda Sri Jnanaratana Thero, and the new Anunayaka Most Venerable Anamaduwe Dhammadasi Thero took place today at the Magul Madua in Kandy. The event was graced by President Maithripala Sirisena and Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe.
The new Mahanayaka and Anunayaka were escorted to the historic Magul Madua in Kandy by a traditional band. The new Mahanayaka, the Most Venerable Warakagoda Sri Jnanaratana Thero, led religious observances. The Chief Registrar of the Askiri chapter, the Venerable Madagama Dhammananda Thero, read out the Sri Sannas Patra on the appointments.
Karaka Maha Sangha Sabhavedi.
Thereafter, the President presented the Sri Sannas Patra to the Mahanayaka Thero, followed by the presentation of the Sri Sannas Patra to the Anunayaka Thero. To be a part of this great endeavour, we as a country, as its citizens and as Buddhists are truly blessed. On behalf of the government and the Buddhist community, we wish the new Mahanayaka and the Anunayaka long life to bring betterment to society in all forms and to be strengthened to do so. Thereafter, the Anunayaka invoked blessings on the gathering.
Developing Story, brought to you by
Royal Institute of Colombo, excellence in higher education.
Well, the footage that you just witnessed clearly shows the devastation caused by heavy downpours and flash floods. A major landslide was also reported from Aranayaka late this evening. With more details, let's now cross over to Nadeem Majid, who is at the News First Weather Centre, for a more comprehensive report on the weather situation that affected the country since the weekend. Nadeem?
Thank you, Shaheen. Well, the situation as it stands right now is that the low pressure system over Sri Lanka is barely discernible on this map due to the cloud cover above the island, but that low pressure system is slowly moving northwards. We're still feeling the after effects of the tail end of that low pressure system as it leaves the island. The Met Department, however, is forecasting that the northern, north central and southwestern parts of the island will continue to experience strong winds and rainfall over the next 24 hours at least. Meanwhile, the President's media unit announced this evening that if a government officer or a government agent has not reached a flood-affected area as yet, the general public can call the hotline 1919 and submit their grievances. The number introduced under the Talk to the President initiative is 1919. Also, with regard to that major landslide in the Arunayaka Administrative Division, the District Secretary of Kegol says that about 400 people have reached safe locations, 400 people who were affected by that major landslide in the Siripura area in the Arunayaka Administrative Division have reached safe locations. He added that search and rescue operations are underway to locate the people still unaccounted for. He is also calling on the public to refrain from visiting the scene of the landslide. The Newsfirst crew is on the way to the Siripura area in Arunayaka. Newsfirst Nimesh Vijaysurya joined us earlier on just before the primetime news bulletin, and he informed us that they still have to travel about 4 to 5 kilometers in the bad weather to reach the scene of the landslide. Details regarding the full extent of the landslide are just trickling in. Newsfirst, the Weather Center, is keeping a close watch on things and will keep you up to date as and when things unfold. Moving on to other stories, 11 people have lost their lives in various parts of the country over the past 3 days due to various disaster situations, according to a report that was issued at 4 p.m. today by the Disaster Management Center. The report notes that 6 people have been reported missing, 226,308 people from 63,170 families have been affected by the extreme weather, 137,606 people are being sheltered at welfare centers. Disaster situations including landslides and flooding continue to be reported from many parts of the island. 6 people were reported missing following a landslide in Kadugannal.
The landslide occurred this morning. An area about an acre in size near the Ilukpata hill in Pilimatalawa had been affected by the landslide, which was triggered by the heavy rainfall. 6 people were reported missing after earth embankments collapsed onto 2 homes. About 35 army personnel are engaged in the search and rescue effort amid the continuing heavy rains. It was reported that 2 women and 4 men were missing. 4 bodies were discovered this afternoon. The search and rescue operation is ongoing. "220 people from 75 families in the number 1 village in Tabover were marooned when the reservoir overflowed. The Sri Lanka Air Force came to the aid of the marooned villagers as helicopters were deployed for the rescue effort. 87 people were airlifted to safety. The Sri Lanka Navy and villagers drew cables across the floodwaters in an attempt to rescue the trapped villagers by boat.
Everything in the house which we bought with our hard-earned money is in the water now.
We do not even have clothes to wear.
පොඩි උනුත් එක්ක හිර වෙලා හිටියේ. ඉතින් යා කියන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. ඉතින් තේරුම් ගන්න මිනිස්සු තේරුම් ගන්න ඕනේ මීට වැඩිය හොඳට.
කලාවේ පිටාර ගැලීමෙන්
The Neelabemma and Paraneluwankulum areas are flooded due to the Kalaoya overflowing. A large group of people have been provided shelter at displacement camps.
A landslide risk has arisen at the Rangoda Hill between Imaduwa and Pinnaduwa on the southern expressway. The landslide risk affects the stretch between the 100 and 101st kilometer posts on the expressway.
Locals in the area say that if the rains persist, the rocks at the peak of the Rangoda mountain will collapse onto the southern expressway.
3 homes in Nagastanna were damaged when an earth embankment gave way. A landslide damaged 2 homes in Pelava Murutalava in Yatnura this afternoon.
Right, Kana ule gode lagate. Kana ode. Kana ule gode lagate. Kana ode.
Several cut failures were reported in Hatton. 3 homes were destroyed while several other homes have been damaged. A coconut palm was uprooted in the Nindapalla area in Ibagama, killing the pillion rider on a motorcycle. The motorcycle rider has been hospitalized for trauma treatment.
We heard a tree collapsing. When my husband came out and looked, the tree had fallen on the victim.
Low-lying areas in Bandara Koswata in Panduwasnura have begun flooding due to the collapse of the dike of the reservoir.
An agriculture official told us to immediately fill this place up with sand. While this process was underway for the second time, the dike of this reservoir collapsed when the sand was being brought. Northwestern Province Education Minister Sandhya Kumara Rajapaksa has announced that 1,250 schools in the province will be closed tomorrow due to the extreme weather conditions. The decision was made as several schools are being used as shelters for the displaced and many students are unable to travel to school due to the weather. A landslide was also reported in Yatiyantara today. Railway services on the northern line have been suspended due to flooding in Talava and Tambuttegama in Anuradhapura, as one section was affected by an earth slip while another was flooded. When we contacted the Anuradhapura Railway Control Room, they said that repairs on the tracks have commenced and that a specific date cannot be predicted for railway operations to recommence.
A 37-year-old man was struck by lightning and killed while threshing paddy in a flooded mill in Malvanegama, Talava. A heavy mist engulfed Nura earlier throughout the day today. Authorities have requested motorists to exercise caution on the roads.
Well, those were the reports that were filed by our network of provincial correspondents across the island. However, residents of areas surrounding Colombo as well have been severely affected by the continued flooding which was triggered when the Kalani River broke its banks.
The Kalani River and surrounding areas resembled a major reservoir today. Several slum areas around Colombo city were inundated. Lives that depend on the waters of the Kalani River faced catastrophe today as a result of the same waters that sustain these lives.
I'm here in Nagalagambidia in Totlanga, where the water levels are usually of 2 to 3 feet here. But the water levels today have increased to up to 6 feet, and the public should be on high alert if the water levels continue to increase.
A majority of the people in these areas depend on the river for their livelihoods. People residing here are forced to evacuate to higher grounds during the rainy season and return to their homes in low-lying areas when the rains dissipate.
If they increase the level of the Zanicut and clean it, the water will recede. Water fills here even for the slightest rain. We can't travel. We request the authorities to take the necessary steps. These floods were caused by the overflowing of the Kalani River. But usually you can see these houses inundated even if it rains for half an hour.
Sedawata too was inundated by the waters of the Kalani River. People residing here set out on foot in search of shelter as many of the neighborhoods here were flooded. In Velampitia, the roads and byroads were flooded and the areas resembled a single large reservoir.
It's been 3 days since these houses have been inundated, but no officials have visited us thus far.
Hundreds of people living in outlying areas from the capital have been displaced as a result of the floods. Newsfirst deployed several teams to inquire into the plight of these people.
People living in areas including Todalanga, Kalaniya, Kolunnawa, Vallampitiya and Vannavatta have begun leaving their homes. Following a major effort, our team was able to traverse the flooded roads to reach people living in areas affected by flood waters from the Kalani River. People from about 1,000 homes in the area have taken to the streets seeking temporary shelter. Many of these have been inundated by flood waters. Residents of this area could only look on helplessly as the flood waters carried away their belongings.
The residents of this area have been forced out of their houses due to the excessive floods that have affected the area. Now, according to the residents, they do not have food to eat, they do not have water to drink, and on top of all that, they do not have a place to stay. The hope that these people have that someone might come and provide a solution to this situation here is very bleak.
Now, Newsfirst 20,000 plus strong island-wide network of citizen journalists, the Newsfirst U reporters, were also busy in their communities covering the extreme weather situation. Let's take a look at some of the reports that they filed. Now, the Meteorology Department is saying that the low pressure system is moving away from Sri Lanka, or has moved away from Sri Lanka, mostly towards India. We can see that it will have a great effect in Chennai and surrounding areas. Sri Lanka is still, of course, feeling the effects of the tail of that low pressure system. Strong windy conditions, particularly in the sea areas around the island, will continue. Showers or thunder showers will occur at times in the northern, north central, northwestern, western, central, Sabaragamu provinces and the Galle and Mathura districts in the south as well. Heavy rainfall in excess of 100 millimeters may be experienced in some areas. The Met Department is also forecasting temporarily localized strong winds during thunder showers. Let's take a look at the forecast highs for the next 24 hours. The Department of Meteorology had this to say on the current weather pattern.
The weather over much of the country has taken a turn for the better, but the north, north central and southwestern areas will experience rainfall until the low pressure system moves away from the country towards India. Heavy rainfall will not be experienced in most parts, with the exception of the north and north central provinces. But I should mention that strong winds could occur at any given time.
Meanwhile, at a media briefing convened at the Parliament complex today, the subject minister elaborated on the disaster management program.
ඊයේ වෙනකොට ජනාධිපතිතුමා උපදෙස් අනුව දැනට වෙන් කෙරෙන්නේ පුද්ගලයෙක්ගේ ආහාර පාන ඇතුළු දෛනික අවශ්‍යතාව වෙන රුපියල් 100.
As per the instruction passed down to us by the President, until yesterday 150 rupees was allocated per person for food and other daily requirements. However, today we increased it to 225 rupees. The Cabinet allocated 150 million rupees for the Department of Social Services today to spend when required. At present, the Cabinet and the Ministry of Finance has played a major role in this program because we were able to provide financial aid for destroyed or damaged homes through the Insurance Trust Fund. In the past, we only provided financial aid for low-income families, but this has now changed. That's a good policy. We were only able to allocate a small fixed amount annually, but we have now got the opportunity to increase the allocated amount to 2.5 million rupees.
Minister of Housing and Construction, Sajid Premadasa, also expressed his views on the disaster relief program.
I spoke with the Honourable Minister of Disaster Management, Anura Priyadarshana today. We spoke about establishing an additional joint committee headed by the Secretary of his ministry and the Secretary of my ministry to visit areas where homes have been damaged or destroyed, identify and select disaster victims, transform them into beneficiaries, and if need be, resettle them in alternate locations as per the decision made by the Disaster Management Ministry and following the guidelines of the ministry. I wish to say that our ministry will provide direct and strong support to rebuild the homes of all people whose homes were lost or damaged.
Several public representatives also visited their constituencies to inquire into the situation faced by the people as a result of the torrential rain, floods and landslides. Accompanied by journalists, they inquired into the grievances faced by the people. Minister Ravi Karunanayake visited Andruwatta in Colombo North last evening to inquire into the plight of the flood-affected. I promise that new houses will be given to these people before the next flood situation arises. MP Harshana Rajakaruna visited the Dompe area today. Thousands have left their homes and are residing in public places including temples. This is some kind of temporary solution. We need to provide them with drinking water bottles and dry rations. The matter was raised at the Western Provincial Council today. The people are in hunger. In Kolonnawa, rice packets were distributed. One representative informed me that 150 kilograms of rice was received. Another 150 kilograms of rice was collected from donors. Then they tell me there are around 1,000 people living there, and how are they to provide rice to over 1,000 people? I said there is no other option except to provide small rice packets. This is the situation. The Provincial Council must be held accountable. Well, the Newsfirst Weather Centre is continuing to monitor the extreme weather situation and will keep you up to date with the latest developments. You can follow our coverage on the extreme weather situation on our website, Newsfirst.lk. Also, with regard to that major landslide in Siripura, Aranayaka, we have a team that is en route to the scene of the landslide. Details are trickling in right now, and we will have more information for you as the hours pass. In the meantime, back to you in the studio, Shine.
The religious ceremony to commence the procession to place the sacred relics at the Sirasa John Keel's Vesak zone to celebrate Vesak commenced this morning.
The procession carrying the sacred Sarvani relics and the relics of the Maharahat Theros commenced from the Nelligala Buddhist Center in Kandy. The procession that will carry the sacred Agra Shavak relics of Arahant Sariputta and Moggallana commenced from the Kirivehera in Kataragama.
The event to carry the sacred Agrashravaka relics in procession was presided over by the chief incumbent of the Kirivehara Rajamahaviharaya, Venerable Kobuvaka Daminda Thero. Representatives from the Capital Maharaj Organisation Limited and the John Keels Group were present for the occasion. The Sri Lanka Navy will also support the endeavour, while Commander South Eastern Naval Area, Real Admiral Nima Saratsena and other naval personnel were also present.
Sariyut Mugalang
Sacred relics will be brought to the Sirasa Vesak zone from different places. No one else can do something similar to this endeavour. The Sirasa Media Network is undertaking this task in a grand manner to celebrate the importance of Vesak. This task commenced on the Kiri Vihara to mark 125 years of the Mahabodhi Society. This is being done to create peace and an non-recurrence of a conflict from the north to the south and through the Buddhist vision to achieve peace. This is the foundation for that. The task which commenced today will see the people being provided with an opportunity to pay homage to the sacred relics. We invite the whole of Sri Lanka to come and pay homage to the sacred relics and also worship them to bring peace to the nation. We request everyone to come join the procession. We hope to present the devotees with pirit water and strings as well as a compact disc with the Tripitaka.
The devotees who were present were given an opportunity to pay homage to the sacred relics. The procession carrying the Sri Sarvana relics and the relics of the Maharaj Theros commenced from the Neligala Puri Centre. Representatives from the Capital Maharaj Organisation Limited and the John Keels Group were present for the occasion.
With the revel of the sacred Sarvana relics on the central hills, the Sirasa Vesak zone will become more pure. 35 large Vesak lanterns will be on display. This year, the Sri Lanka Navy has come forward to assist us in the Dal Donsal as well as in the cultural procession that will take place. There will be religious songs and competitions for Sunday schools. We have also organized a number of other dancels in line with this program.
Devotees in their large numbers were present despite the rain on the route of the processions leading from Kathragama to Neligala.
Heslon Lanka Private Limited introduced an app featuring the Tripitaka to mark the 2560th Sambuddha Themagula, or the three important stages in the life of Lord Buddha. The launch took place at the historic Kirivehara Rajamavit temple.
The app was introduced with the aim of bringing an understanding on the Sambuddha Themagula to all Buddhists and the celebration of these three stages. Smartphone users will have the opportunity to download this app and get an understanding on the Tripitaka.
The Sri Lanka-Germany Business Forum and B2B or business-to-business meetings were held in Colombo yesterday.
The event, which was organized by the Sri Lanka Export Development Board, was held under the auspices of visiting German Parliamentary State Secretary for Economic Affairs and Energy, Uwe Backmeyer, who is heading a German business delegation in the country.
We are aware that this is a difficult time when global growth is being downgraded and international trade is sluggish. We are in the process of deepening our economic relations with India and Pakistan and negotiating a partnership agreement with China. This will give us preferential access to a market of over 3 billion people. This will enable us to leverage the trade and investment nexus to attract investors who will be able to sell into these large markets on preferential.
The founder of the Art of Living Foundation, Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar, who is currently in Sri Lanka to attend several events, expressed the following views at a media briefing held today.
Sri Lanka has always been very prosperous and an ideal situation from times of Ramayana. Because in Ram's own words said, though Sri Lanka is so full of prosperity and it looks like a heaven on earth, he has said, though I would have loved to stay, but I prefer to go to my motherland. He has said that in the contest of going to the motherland, he said how wonderful, how golden this city has been. Sri Lanka, this is the country.
And that's a look at Primetime News. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Shahin Jarampati.
I'm Aisha Pinto. Good night.